If you're a regular here, you'll know I just released my review on Halo Wars 2, completing the short task of reviewing the full Halo Wars series, complete with a nice, nearly exact year break in between, and satisfying thumbnail similarity to boot. But throughout my time playing both games, I couldn't shake the desire to check out some other unique Halo games, ones that I've known about for a while, but never tried. And those games are Halo Spartan Assault and its sequel, Spartan Strike. These top-down twin-stick shooters were created by 343 and Vanguard Games, with Spartan Assault initially being released in 2013 on Windows PCs and Windows Phone. Yeah, remember those? I certainly do. It was eventually ported to the Xbox, iOS and Steam, with Spartan Strike releasing 2 years later direct to iOS, Windows Phone and Windows PCs, but not Xbox, and neither of them are on Android for some reason. Whatever, they're both on Steam and for just a few bucks each. In fact, I think I bought them on sale for around 80 cents a pop. So that begs the question, are these games too cheap to be good? Let's go chronologically and begin with Spartan Assault. Set between Halo 3 and 4, the story sees... yeah, look, I'm not going to get into it, there's really nothing here. The TLDR is that you're playing a simulation anyway, but even then, it's boring, and it's certainly not delivered in any kind of interesting way. But to be honest, the story isn't what I'm here for, and for a game of this caliber, it's not something I'm expecting to be good. But I do expect it to be fun. So, is it? Well, sort of. It's simple, that's for sure. There's definitely an adequate amount of variety in its simplicity, and that does keep it interesting for a little while. You can carry 2 weapons at once and swap between them at will, and there's a decent amount of the classic Halo arsenal to play with. You've got your shotgun, needler, magnum pistol, and a healthy mix of long and short range options. There are also fragmentation and plasma grenades, plus an equipment slot which can make you invisible, deploy a bubble shield, or make you super fast. Yeah, you get the idea. And putting everything together is quite satisfying, thanks to the familiar and honestly pretty great for what they are and for when they're released sound and visual effects. There's a decent number of enemies who need to be handled in unique ways, along with vehicles and mounted guns that need to be approached differently. But what makes Spartan Assault not as enjoyable as it should be are some very annoying design decisions that you just can't shake. The most irritating to me is how there's a short delay between clicking your mouse and your gun actually firing, which makes full auto weapons inconvenient, and single fire ones just horrible and borderline unusable if you're going for a decent score at high difficulties. Plus movement speed takes a considerable hit when firing, stunting your combat ability severely. Add in some truly abysmal vehicle controls, a frustrating save system with no checkpoints or the option to save manually, and you've got yourself a recipe for a sometimes fun and authentic, but often painfully irritating, repetitive Halo game. Let's try Spartan Strike, shall we? This one is set amidst the events of both Halo 2 and 4, and yeah, it's a simulation again. The presentation is admittedly better this time around, but it's still bland, so let's move on and talk about the reasons you'd actually maybe want to play it. So right off the bat, yeah, this is better. Visually, it's quite the step up, not so much in detail, but more in the environments and backgrounds. Fighting through the city, you've got massive battles between scorpions and wraiths taking place below, and in the forest there's some nice particles and lighting that significantly improve it from the frankly drab aesthetic of the first game. One weird thing I will mention is to do with the music though. It's almost always really quiet and unassuming, no matter whether you're just walking around or in an intense gunfight. Here, have a listen.
The attack was just a distraction. The conduit is aboard that spirit. Get after it.
You'd expect some action tunes like in the first game, and they appear on occasion, but not usually. Strange. Anyways, gameplay-wise, Spartan Strike fares a lot better than its predecessor. While the core of it is basically the same, with 2 guns, grenades, and an equipment slot, the truly annoying things of Spartan Assault have mostly been fixed. The movement penalty you get when shooting doesn't seem to be as significant, and that infuriating delay between clicking the mouse and firing your gun has either been removed entirely, or at least massively shortened depending on the weapon. To be honest, most of the guns feel great, especially some of the new Promethean ones. It's more reactive than before, like you're playing in real time, without a frustrating delay. Furthermore, a much widened array of weapons, equipment, vehicles, and scenarios give a lot of variety, with every mission basically always featuring something different from the last. Vehicle combat, one of my biggest issues with Spartan Assault, has also been vastly improved. While some units like the Scorpion remain a real pain, new hovercraft like the Kestrel and Covenant Ghost are actually quite fun, I'll admit. For the former tracked and wheeled vehicles, movement has somewhat been improved, but it remains frustrating thanks to really odd inputs when using the WSA and D keys. It might be different for a controller, but I can just speak to what I played on keyboard and mouse. You see, these keys don't correlate to any set direction, it's based on what way your vehicle is facing, meaning you can't memorize anything or rely on muscle memory. You just press buttons until the vehicle goes where you want. But it is different for hovercraft, where those controls are locked to the screen. W goes up, S goes down, etc. It does still orientate them in said direction, but since they don't actually need to do that before moving that way, it's much better. Thanks to that side of the game being far improved, as well as on-foot combat seeing its own improvements, Spartan Strike is a much more enjoyable experience overall when compared to Assault. Plus, it looks way better. So, you're looking for some cheap thrills. Should you bother with either of these two? Well, yeah, I think so. My advice is to skip Spartan Assault and go right to Strike. It's an all-around much better game to play, it's more visually interesting, and it will keep you engaged a lot longer than its predecessor. All things considered, it's quite an enjoyable twin-stick shooter, with an authentic Halo skin thrown on top. And when you consider you can pick it up for half the price of a coffee, and a fraction of that on sale, again, I think I got mine for 80 cents, then the price to value ratio is pretty great. You know, this game would be right at home on the Switch. To be honest, I'd buy and play that on the go for sure. Have you played either of these? Will you be trying them out after watching? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much for checking out the video, and I'll see you all next time.